On April 23rd, 2023, a 911 dispatcher in Cleveland answered a call that would quickly turn serious. The address was 3885 West 34th Street.
3885 West 34th Street. I need an ambulance right now. I'm getting shot. He's sitting on the porch. He's my neighbor. Brandy, go get a towel and put pressure on it.
And did you see who did this?
It was an accident.
A woman on the line sounded shaken and out of breath. She said her neighbor had been shot and needed help right away. Her voice trembled as she asked for an ambulance. In the background, people were shouting. Someone told another person to grab a towel. The caller insisted it was an accident. Police and paramedics were sent immediately. When officers arrived, they saw a man sitting on the front porch. He had been shot in the chest. There was visible blood.
It is. Well, I mean, shooting in the chest, you're gonna have some blood.
Yeah, but it's crazy because it wasn't like gushing out on the thing, but there's definitely a lot.
Oh, that's a ton inside.
The situation was already critical. Inside the house, the scene did not match a simple accident. Something felt off from the start. The man who had been shot was 28-year-old Carlos Palis. He lived in the home with his partner, 25-year-old Brandy Loncoy, and their children. What happened inside that house only minutes earlier would soon become the focus of a long investigation. Officers were met at the door by Brandy. She looked overwhelmed and confused. She was crying and asking about Carlos at the same time.
The kids
All right, well,
upstairs. Just so you guys are
Tell me
aware.
exactly what happened.
I pulled in the driveway.
Okay.
I walked up the stairs. He had a gun. He said, "Why'd you get off work so late?" I said,
She kept saying she did not know how this could have happened. She wanted to know if he was still alive. She looked shocked by the amount of blood inside the house. She told officers she did not expect that much blood from what she thought was an accident. Police quickly moved inside to secure the scene. They saw blood in multiple areas. The wounds to Carlos's chest looked severe. Officers knew right away that this was not minor.
It is. Well, I mean, shooting in the chest, you're gonna have some blood.
Yeah, but it's crazy because it wasn't like gushing out on the thing, but there's definitely a lot.
Oh, that's a ton inside.
They began separating people to gather statements. Brandy tried to explain what happened. Her emotions shifted quickly. At one moment, she was crying hard. At another moment, she spoke clearly and gave details. Officers listened carefully. They needed to understand exactly how a gun went off inside a home with children present.
Same story every time?
Huh?
Same story every time, or what?
I mean, besides her saying that you heard her, right? That she says he already had it
So
in hand.
it's in the upstairs, like, hallway.
Okay.
Is where the gun was found, where the casing is.
Brandy's first story. Brandy told officers she had just come home from work.
he had it in his hip.
And then you went and talked to him on the
I
stairs.
said, "Carlos, I got off work late because I was busy."
She worked on the Nautica Queen cruise ship. She said her shift started at 8 a.m. and had been busy all day.
Hey, I work on the Nautica Queen.
Yeah.
And it was a overfilled cruise, and I was overwhelmed, and I got off a little late, and I think he'd been drinking, I don't know.
She explained there were more than 250 guests on board, and she felt exhausted when she finally returned home.
He had a gun. He said, "Why'd you get off work so late?" I said, "I got off work because there was too many tables. There was 250 people today. I work on the Nautica Queen."
Yeah.
According to Brandy, Carlos had been texting her throughout the day. She said he was upset that she was working late. He questioned why she was not home earlier. She told officers that jealousy had been an issue in their relationship before. When she walked into the house, she said Carlos was standing at the top of the stairs. She described him as angry. He began questioning her right away about why she got off work so late.
And it was a overfilled cruise, and I was overwhelmed, and I got off a little late.
She told him he could call her job if he wanted proof. She believed he might have been drinking because she said he sometimes became more aggressive after drinking.
And I was overwhelmed, and I got off a little late, and I think he'd been drinking, I don't know. But he's usually upset when I get off work late.
Then she brought up the gun. She said Carlos had a gun during the argument. At first, she said it was in his waistband. Then she said he pulled it out.
In the room, and he let me walk past him. I went up to the room.
She told officers that he was demanding the truth and accusing her of lying. Moments later, she said the gun went off. She described it as sudden and unexpected. She said she did not think the gun was loaded.
And he pulled out a gun, And I know the gun. I've seen the gun before. It's for protection for our household. We have rowdy neighbors in the street, and I know that this gun was for protection.
She believed it was usually kept under the mattress and assumed it was not ready to fire. According to her, Carlos would have never meant to shoot himself, but police began to notice small changes in her version of events. As officers asked more questions, parts of Brandy's story shifted.
All it was you were working the night and you came home. Where do you work at?
She first said Carlos already had the gun in his hand when she walked in. Later,
And he pulled out a gun. And I know the gun. I've seen the gun before. It's for protection for our household. We have rowdy neighbors in the street, and I know that this gun was for protection.
she said it was tucked into his waistband and only taken out during the argument. She suggested he may not have known it was loaded. Then she said she assumed it was not loaded because their children were in the house. The shooting location also became important. Brandy said it happened near the stairs. However, officers found the shell casings upstairs in a hallway near a doorway. The blood trail appeared to begin near the side of a bed. One officer quietly questioned whether the physical evidence matched her explanation. If Carlos shot himself the way she described, the angle and position would need to line up.
The front door, and then to the right is the steps, and then like all the kids' shoes are right there.
Right.
So right there.
Like a few steps up. Like it was on the stairway.
Officers also mentioned that a close-range shot often leaves certain marks. They did not immediately see signs that matched what she was showing them. These questions were not accusations yet, but they created doubt. Neighbors and more information. While officers spoke with Brandy, other officers talked to the neighbors. Several neighbors reported hearing loud arguing before the gunshot. One neighbor said she came outside during the argument and then went back inside. After that, the yelling continued before the shot was heard. This detail was important. Brandy had suggested that the argument escalated quickly once she arrived home. Neighbors described a longer and louder confrontation. Police began building a timeline. They compared what neighbors heard with what Brandy described. The two did not fully match. At this point, officers were trying to understand if this was a tragic accident or something else. When Brandy realized she might be taken in for further questioning, her reaction changed again. She began expressing regret about having a gun in the house at all. She said she never wanted one there. She explained that the neighborhood sometimes had gun violence and Carlos believed they needed protection. She now said that decision had destroyed their family. She repeated that she loved Carlos. She insisted he would not have hurt himself on purpose. When she was later told that Carlos had died, she broke down again. Police still needed answers. During more questioning, Brandy gave additional details. She said that after she walked in and the argument started, she tried to move past him and remove her apron. Carlos continued accusing her. She admitted she yelled back because she was frustrated and tired. She said he pulled the gun from his waistband and demanded the truth again. She told him she was telling the truth. She claimed she started walking toward the door because she felt scared and wanted to leave.
Where was it at when it went off? He has it in his hand.
It was like right on the stairway.
No, in his hand. Like,
According to her, Carlos stepped up the stairs, then turned back. He raised the gun again while accusing her one more time. She said she was not facing him when she heard a loud pop. When she turned around, she saw blood on his chest. She claimed his last words were, "It was loaded." She claimed the gun fell and she picked it up because the children were upstairs. She did not want it to fire again. She then said she ran outside for help. But police noticed that her story kept shifting, and they continued pressing her for details about what really happened in those few seconds. Brandy said she had been in shock from the moment the gun went off. She told detectives she barely remembered what she did with the weapon. She explained that everything felt unreal, almost like a dream she could not control. She stated it only became real when she saw the blood and the hole in Carlos's chest.
Because he was in like, oh, and like it was, he grabbed it off the nightstand, so it was in his hand when he was crying, and I grabbed it from him out of his hand, and I ran down the stairs, and that's when I ran down the stairs, he was following behind me, and that's when I turned around and I said, "Stop chasing me."
And that was when panic took over her body. Detectives moved to specific questions. They asked if Carlos was right-handed or left-handed. Brandy hesitated before answering. She claims he used both hands sometimes, but admitted he was mostly right-handed, especially when holding the gun.
Honestly, I think he used both hands, but I think he was more right-handed. With the gun, I think he had it in the right hand. I'm not even sure.
Is he right-handed or left-handed?
He's right-handed.
He's right-handed.
That detail mattered because the bullet had entered the center of his chest and exited through his lower right back. She repeated that she had been running down the stairs when she heard the shot. She even said that for a moment she thought he had fired at her. She claimed she kept running until she realized she was not hit. When she turned back, she claimed Carlos told her it was loaded.
I got in my life, and I didn't even think that it was loaded. He kept telling me it was loaded, but he said that many times, and it wasn't loaded just to scare me. So I'm thinking, okay, you know, he's just saying this, and he was coming at me, and I just...
She insisted that was the full truth. That was when detectives confronted her with the medical findings. The doctor at the hospital had already determined the wound did not look self-inflicted. The angle and path of the bullet did not match the way she had described him holding a gun. They also reminded her that a gunshot residue test had been done on her hands. Then one detective asked directly if there was any chance she had pulled the trigger.
He said, loaded, and I said, stop chasing me! And he kept following me, and I didn't even realize that I was pressing the trigger that hard. And I obviously... done it.
There was a pause before she answered. She said she thought he was going to shoot her. With that statement, the story shifted again. Brandy admitted that she had taken the gun from Carlos. Detectives told her that from this point forward, they needed the complete truth. They reminded her that she had 3 children who would eventually learn what happened that night. She claimed she believed her life was over and that she might die in prison. She said she no longer cared about herself, but she would now be honest. In this new version, she claims Carlos had accused her of cheating as soon as she came home.
He was chasing me. He was coming after me.
There's in the bedroom, right? He was in the room when you shot him.
See, I just got off work and I had a few drinks and I was emotionally, you know, just a mess when he was coming at me with all these things.
She claimed this was not the first time he had used the gun during an argument. She described their relationship as jealous and controlling. According to her, he had placed the gun on the nightstand and told her it was loaded. She claims he sometimes said that to scare her, but this time he repeated it seriously. She told detectives that he broke down crying near the bed. When he grabbed the gun again, she said she panicked and grabbed it from him.
That I grabbed the gun and ran down the stairs, but obviously if you're saying it was upstairs, that I upstairs and ran and dropped the gun, because I know I didn't carry the gun downstairs.
She ran down the stairs and he followed her. She states he kept telling her the gun was loaded. Then she said she turned around and pulled the trigger. She insisted it was an accident. She said she had never fired a gun before and did not mean to aim at him. She claimed she did not realize how much pressure she was putting on the trigger. She admitted he had warned her that the gun was loaded, but she claims she did not fully believe him. Detectives returned to the physical evidence. They explained that the spent shell casing had been found upstairs in the bedroom area. A semi-automatic pistol ejects the casing to the right side of the shooter. If she had fired while running down the stairs, the casing would not have landed upstairs. She tried adjusting the timeline again. She said maybe it happened near the landing or closer to the bed. She blamed alcohol and fear for her confusion. Detectives pointed out that her account had changed several times and that the truth does not move. At one point, a detective suggested she shot Carlos while he was sitting on the bed.
Where is he actually, like, having his breakdown at?
Right by the bed, like at the foot of the bed.
Foot of the bed, okay.
So then I ran down the stairs.
She denied that and insisted he was chasing her. As the interview continued, she admitted the gun had been in the house for 8 months and was bought illegally. She claimed he had once held it to her head during a fight months earlier. She claimed the children had seen arguments before. She described learning to avoid conflict by staying quiet. Detectives explained how a jury would hear her shifting story. They told her it would look like she was adjusting details to match the evidence. She admitted she had been scared and had not told everything at first. She still refused to say she meant to kill him. When the interrogation ended, investigators were no longer convinced by her explanation. The evidence and her changing statements left major questions unanswered. Brandy Longcoy was charged and would now wait for trial, where a courtroom would decide whether this was fear, accident, or something far more deliberate. If you found this breakdown clear and informative, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more in-depth crime stories. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because your perspective matters, and we'll see you in the next case.